Hi guys, I am Ryan Pemberton with Belle of the Bar, and I am actually here with Miss Julia Smay, California's strongest woman. I am so excited to sit with her tonight and just have some open conversation about string sports and how she became such an awesome, amazing machine in the world of strong women. So Julia, thank you so much. I know that you're a very busy woman, and I appreciate your time. Can you please start out by just telling us, well, first of all, how you got into string sports? I'm curious how old you are, where you're located, and just a little bit about how you got started.
So I have to actually tell you my age. That's not a forbidden question. So, as you said, Julia Smay, California's strongest woman. Woo woo! I am 42 years old. I will actually be 43 in October, but please don't tell anybody that. I'm feeling old. I'm officially a master. So
nothing wrong with that.
The way that I got into string sports, I had been athletic as a kid, but never really took it very far. But about 5 years ago, my dad passed away, and I realized that I was in this rut in my life, and I did not want to be stuck in the way that he was. And I kind of actually got a tattoo that says "live." I don't know if you can see it, but it was kind of like my reminder I needed to live my life and do some of the things I wanted to. So I enrolled in a kickboxing class, and the kickboxing class was right next to a CrossFit gym, and took a few kickboxing classes, peeked over there, thought, what's going on? They're lifting heavy things, and I know I can lift heavy things. So I took a few classes, and ever since then, it's gone from there. So moved from San Francisco, California to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, where I am right now. And that's where I was introduced to strongman in a CrossFit competition. And that was about 2 years ago, and hooked, line, and sinker.
Right. So about 4 to 5 years ago, you'd say you started that kickboxing class, and this is where it all started? Awesome.
Yes. Yep.
Cool. So CrossFit was kind of like your gateway then after the kickboxing into strongman?
Yes, it was definitely a catalyst. So it really gave me some fundamentals about movement under the barbell. When I first started, I couldn't do a lunge. I couldn't squat. I couldn't carry 20. I was telling a friend yesterday, I couldn't carry 25-pound dumbbells to the curb, outside and to the curb and back. So it's been a huge, it's been a big journey for me. But yeah, that definitely was the catalyst to move into strength sports.
That is awesome. And so many of us in strongman and strongwomen have that background. And I agree. Yeah. It's a great way to get all of your fundamentals and really fall in love with the barbell.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
Really cool.
Yep.
So where do you currently train?
So I train at El Jefe CrossFit in Glendale, Arizona.
Awesome. So, and are you a coach as well?
I am a coach as well. I love it. I feel like I've learned more from coaching than just participating and then also training. But I coach twice a week on Monday, Wednesday nights, and then we have a event day, if you will. So Saturday morning, starting at 7, we're there for about 3 hours and pulling trucks, pushing trucks, carrying heavy things. You know the drill.
Awesome. So do you have a lot of interest in that, like newcomers and people that just keep coming back alike?
When I first started, it was just a very small core group of people who were still there. So about 4 or 5 people who braved the training, and they came, and then it just kind of word of mouth. I have at least on Monday, Wednesday nights, I have about 20 to 25 people in my class. And then on Saturdays, just depending on how hot it is outside. I mean, we are in
Phoenix. Yeah.
So I have about 20, maybe sometimes 30 people. So it's from all ranges. We have some teenagers all the way up to some seasoned vets. So
very cool. So you mentioned that you were a little bit athletic as a child. Let's go back to that, because I'm just kind of curious. How did you know? And like, how would you define that? Because many of us, we do or don't have, an athletic background. I was a cheerleader, so some people would say that's not athletic at all. I would argue differently. But I wasn't a strength athlete. I wasn't necessarily doing the things I'm doing now. And it's like, if I would have known then what I know now, I'd be a whole different person. So I'm kind of curious what it was like for you as a child if you were athletic.
So I think I was the fat athlete, if you will, when I was a kid.
Sure.
I was always overweight. I was the pudgy kid. But I was always keeping up with everyone, whether that was on the playground, whether it was riding my bike. I was in swim team in high school. So
Nice.
I swam anchor. So I always knew, and I was always told. It was funny. I remember being told when I was in high school, hey, you should try, that powerlifting thing, what they do on the Olympics. And I always think to myself, if I would have just done that 20 years ago.
No doubt.
So yeah, I was always just involved. I was very competitive at a young age. So whether it was playing softball, swimming, whatever it was, I just like to be engaged in sports.
Very cool. And I can identify with what you mean about, or what you said about being, the fat athlete or the pudgy, when I was in third grade, I remember in Girl Scouts, we had to weigh ourselves and I was like 75 pounds and all the other girls were like 40 or 50 pounds. And I just, from that age on, we hold on to that, but strength sports are amazing and that doesn't really matter anymore. So can you talk a little bit about that? How has that been for you to help you kind of own that?
Well, I think that prior to really seriously getting into strength sports, and I think that when I recollect my very first competition and the photos of that competition, I didn't want to share those with anybody. Right. I refused to put them on Facebook. I just thought, oh my God, look at how I look. I'm terrible. It's just terrible. And I think many of us, now that I know what the deadlift face is and the squat, now I get it. But even though I was pushing myself and I came in first in my very first comp, I still had this sense of shame, around me. And it took me a long time to realize that, and see the playing field of, oh my gosh, we all have our strengths and our abilities and we're all different and we're all different sizes. From the very lightweight women, these tiny girls who are picking up crazy weights, and then to my size, and just the mutual respect that everyone has for one another. It's just, it's part of the reason why I love being in strength sports. So.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And that's kind of in Belle of the Bar, what we want to highlight, as women, is highlighting each other, lifting each other up, and just realizing how much power we have within ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that it's something that's been just eye-opening to me, is just how one person can have such a change, and just encouraging people that take my class, especially the women that take my class. There's something spectacular that happens when a woman walks in, even men, they walk in, their shoulders are kind of hunched. They're, what am I doing here? I'm not strong enough to be here. There's kind of this baggage of shame and unworthiness that they kind of walk in the door with. And from that first moment, whether they're picking up a heavier weight or flipping a tire, you can just see everything in their persona change. And to me, I almost love that more than I love competing, is just being able to see somebody go through that transition in their heart and their mind. And it's amazing to me.
Definitely. And I would say as a coach, you probably get to see that even more so. But you're definitely a well-known athlete. And I know many, 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 many women, and probably men too, look up to you. You're on social media and you're inspiring. I remember I met you at California's Strongest Woman when I went for the first time in 2016. And I was just like, whoa, I have to compete against this badass. Whoa. But you were so humble and helpful. And again, that's something that's really beautiful about our sport, is that the majority of us, we help each other out. And
absolutely.
You are not an exception to that. So can you talk a little bit?
You didn't tell me you're going to make me cry.
Oh, no tears. Girl, you're just so awesome. So can you tell me, so it sounds like you've been seriously in strong woman for about 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So kind of paint a picture of what that's been like. I mean, your first competition, you got first place, and that's not too uncommon. There's not a whole lot of women, heavyweight women especially. It's getting better. And then I know, recently you went to USS Nationals and did really well. So what has it looked like for you from that first competition up until now?
I think that it's looked like a lot of training is what it's looked
Yeah,
like.
right.
So when I first started training for strongman, I had a coach who was primarily who was programming for CrossFit, and so I worked with him for a year, and then I moved to Mike Westerling, and so I've seen dramatic gains in my strength and the way that I train. Whereas I was training before 6 days a week, now I'm at 3 or 4 days a week. So just because of the load and the amount of weights that I'm lifting is not conducive to killing myself 6 days a week.
Mhm.
So that's changed. And I think that I've really realized that as a strength athlete, you want to be strong overnight. Everybody wants to get stronger
Right.
overnight. And when I look past, and thank God for Facebook, right? You have the memories
Yes.
that pop up. And I see these things where I was super excited for lifting 150 pounds overhead or 170 pounds overhead, and I look at that and I realize it's taken me 2 years to move past 200 from there. So I think it's just realizing that, this is a process. I'm just starting in this process. I'm a newbie. There's amazing women who've been around for 7, 10, 15 years who've been doing this. But just to not to ease back on my training, but just to realize, continue moving forward, continue your training, don't ease up, and don't put any limitations on yourself, because I've got years in front of me. I may be 42, I may be turning 43, but you know what? I want to do this for a long time. So it's just
Absolutely.
about, staying safe and training smart and surrounding yourself with awesome people.
Yeah, I agree. And you touched on a couple of things that I think we should highlight. One of them being you don't train more than 3 or 4 days a week. I think a lot of new people to the sport or any strength sport want to dive in and go like all in, 6 days a week, maybe seven, maybe do some doubles,
Yeah.
2 a days, things like that. And that's really dangerous when we're not just doing lighter, lower intensity
Right.
stuff. As a coach,
Mm-hmm.
do you see that in your new athletes?
Absolutely. I absolutely see that. They want to do, we call it a vominos class. So it's usually running or rowing. There's a lot of timing involved. They want to do a vominos class, then they want to take CrossFit, and then they want to do strongman all in one day.
Right.
So
That's crazy.
it's very crazy. So I've been working with some of the athletes on the Cube program. So the Cube method, excuse me. So just pushing that out there for them. And I think that it's helping them to realize that they cannot go heavy. They can't power lift and do strongman, train for 2 or 3 different shows simultaneously. I've also had some athletes come and train with me on my event day, which is Sunday. And it's funny because they'll say, oh, we're only doing 3 things or 4 things. And then they get done with the second one and they realize, okay, this is what it is to push yourself. This is how heavy we're going. And then that light bulb goes off and they realize, oh, crap, I can't work out. I hear that. Well, I couldn't work out Monday or Tuesday and I felt terrible. And I said, you broke your CNS system completely down. So,
Yeah.
this is what I've been trying to tell you for 3 months.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think everybody kind of has to have that aha moment, especially your body will start breaking down. And if you're not seeking PT or chiropractic care, it becomes pretty evident really quickly.
Definitely. And we've talked a little bit just personally about nutrition and recovery. And
Yep.
can you tell me if, you've had any ups and downs, different strategies or methods with nutrition and recovery, things that have worked for you along the way?
Yes, I am. The first year into it, I didn't touch on any of my nutrition. I didn't touch on recovery. I wasn't stretching the way that I needed to. I did not have a physical therapist that I saw regularly. I didn't go to the chiropractor.
Right.
So at the end of that first year, I was pretty broken. I was exhausted all the time. This year has been a lot different. Again, changing from the 3 to 4 days a week. I frequently see a physical therapist or a massage therapist, which it's not always but it's much needed, and a
Right.
chiropractor. So I feel like my body feels stronger and I'm more prepared when I go into an event. I don't feel broken going into it, and I'm just hoping that, hey, really hope my shoulder doesn't act up, or, my elbows, or just pick any body part is going to fall apart. Nutrition, I have been working pretty hard on figuring out what works for me, whether that's high carb, high protein, working with some macros. I'll be quite honest, this is the biggest struggle for me. I think it's my last stand where I just, I want to eat what I want to eat.
Right.
I eat pretty healthy, a lot of clean foods, if you will. I know a lot of people don't like to say, dirty foods, but I like salad. I like chicken breasts, all those things but I also like burritos and donuts and ice cream. So this is going into next year and the rest of this year, getting fat loss and getting my body to be at its peak performance level requires that I drop some of the pounds. And so that's a focus. And again, it's just like we all we have our struggle. Some of it's getting in the gym. For me, it's dialing in the nutrition. So it's just an ongoing struggle.
Absolutely. And I think that's pretty common, and the flip side of that is just making sure you're eating enough. That's a very true, real struggle for many people.
Yep.
So, but I mean, as you know, it can be done, and it's just one of those things, baby steps. And, I believe you can probably do that and kick some ass while you're doing it. So awesome.
Yep.
So can you tell me how you deal with a tough training day? We've all had that happen where you go in, you either mess up the workout, interpreted it wrong, or you fail. You can't hit a number that you've hit many times. You can't do your reps. How do you handle that? How do you walk out of the gym and come back the next day refreshed?
I've struggled with that in the past. I will get frustrated, and I'll just beat myself up. You're a piece of crap. Why can't you do this? You could lift this, 2 weeks ago. Why can't you lift it today? I used to be really bad at degrading myself for that. I've read some articles from some elite athletes and talking about how if they go in and within 2 or 3 sets, they know that, number one, they're not in the right mindset. They know their body's not in the right place. They'll walk out. So instead of wasting 2 hours, 2.5, however long you spend in the gym. So instead of wasting that time feeding into those lies that you're telling yourself, just to walk out and to do it the next day. That you've just got to slog through it, because we all have jobs. We all have outside obligations. So, you're here. This is what you have to do. And I think having a group of people around me who I can say, hey, come over and yell at me. Come over and just tell me I don't, being able to have that candor and be honest with somebody has been really helpful to me, and just fighting off that negative self-talk. And I preach that to people at the gym I coach with, is we don't say you can't do something, it's said it getting your mind right. And so I wholeheartedly believe that I have to get my mind right, and I have to be that example. And it's really helped me knowing that people are watching what I do, and that, that sucked, but hey, you know what? I made my way through it. So, there's not a definitive answer like I do X, Y, or Z. It's just in the moment. But I work really hard on just eliminating those thoughts. And at the end of the day, I'm good enough. I am enough. So whether I lift that bar, I'm still me, and I'm still an amazing person. That even if I miss my 500-pound deadlift today, but I get it in 2 weeks, it's still the same me. So that doesn't change.
I love that. I am enough. Absolutely. And you and I have talked a lot. I think probably you would agree that having, friends in the strength community that you can reach out to, even if they're not in person, just via messenger, kind of sometimes someone that's not even close to your situation, like, hey, talk to me about this, talk me down off this cliff, or, what have you tried? I think that is so powerful. And
Absolutely. And social media is amazing for that, because I've reached out to people I don't know. And I know I've had people reach out to me where you say, hey, help me understand. How did you get there? How did you do that? And I think more often than not, they'll talk about the struggle that they had to go through before they arrived there. We have this in our mind that there's this perfection and everybody has this straight path and journey that they magically start and then arrive somewhere. But I think if we're open enough to share and ask for feedback, there's so many athletes out there that are willing to help us come up and understand what those strategies are to work through whatever issue.
Right. And earlier you mentioned, most people want to show up on day one and they want to pull 500 like from day one.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important, not only in social media, but however you do it, to document your journey. Like you said, having those time hop memories, stupid as they may seem, as a strength athlete, that's a really cool way to track your progress. We can have a journal and look back in that. We can videotape, whatever it may be. I just think that's really huge.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of negativity around recording yourself in the gym or, you're special on social media. But, at the end of the day, it's all about my journey. For you, it's about your journey. And whatever helps you to be encouraged and to move and progress, just do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so tell me about back to your competitions and the different things you've done. I know you did the Europa in Dallas, I believe, right before Nationals, like a freaking beast.
A week before.
And you've done lots of NAS shows, or U.S. Strongman Corporation. You did just a couple of USS shows. Is that correct? You've done a little bit of both, but mostly the other?
Yeah, I've only done 2 USS shows. I did one that qualified me for nationals, and then I did nationals. So living in Arizona, there's not a lot of USS shows. We have a new rep out in Arizona, so hopefully we're going to get some more shows out here. So nice. I really had an amazing, awesome time. You were there,
Yeah.
USS Nationals. It was a blast. So I'm excited to compete in USS and hopefully make it to nationals again.
Right. So you were among some really beastly super heavyweights there at nationals. I was really glad I didn't have to go against you in that setting. Although, as you know, when you compete against people that are amazing, you rise to that occasion.
Absolutely.
But I know that was intense. I remember it's very important. It's a big stage and everyone wants to win. But in doing that, did you was it second place?
I got second place. Yep.
Second place. Yeah, that's freaking awesome. And in doing that, you qualified for USS Women's Worlds, which you are going to. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome.
So I'll be doing that. And then like a fool, I'll be come back to Arizona. And a week later, I'm going to actually do NAS Masters Nationals. So
awesome.
Obviously, I'm jumping on this train of 1 week division of comp. So.
But hey, you rocked it last time. You had your recovery on point. You were feeling good. I mean, obviously, you know your body.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot of fun. So thanks.
I can't wait to see you in October. It's going to be a blast.
Yay. I'm counting down the days.
It's going to be so heavy and it's going to be so fun. Yeah.
I'm worried that it's going to be so cold.
Oh, well, for you, definitely. Yeah. All right. So, what has been your most challenging competition? Do you always get top 3? I mean, is there, what is it that, I don't know, really frustrates you in a competition? What has been your most frustrating situation? Or challenge,
I think I really feel like I rise to the occasion. I get that adrenaline and I feed into it and I love it. And I when I'm not competing, I can't wait, to feel that again. I think last year with NAS Nationals, my body was broken. I just knew going into it that I wasn't going to do well, but I thought, okay, mentally I can get over this, but I couldn't. And it was really hard on me mentally as well as physically.
Sure.
The next day, I would say for 3 days after, I was just completely wiped out, but more so just kind of those thoughts that crept back in. You shouldn't have done this. Why did you weren't ready? But I wanted to be a part of the experience. So I think we all kind of go back and forth. And, when you want to move up, from a local regional show up to a national level, I don't know if you're ever going to be ready. Sometimes people have that mentality and just stepping into a strongman gym or a class or setting. But to be able to know and understand what you're going to face, I feel like you just need to do it. Just do it, find out what it's about, and then you'll know, hey, do I want to do this in the future or not? And after that, I took about 2 months off and didn't do anything. Just, I can't believe I did so poorly, woe is me. But something clicked, like, why am I thinking like this? Next time I'm going, and I'm going to win. So awesome. I think in my heart with USS, that was there. Like, I'm not going to be defeated.
Right. So. And I mean, there's definitely a difference of I'm going to get my feet wet. I'm not sure if I will hit all of these events. And so that might be more of a newcomer, and we've talked again a lot about this, but the mindset of going in and knowing, no, I can do this. I'm going for the win, and shifting to that is really powerful, because you can't hold that same feeling for your whole career as a strength athlete of, well, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go and see what happens. I mean, eventually that competitive edge has to take over and kick in, even if you don't hit your target.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt the difference between last year and then this year. So I'm very excited about USS Women's Worlds. I'm really excited about that. I know these ladies are stacked, man.
Yes, they are.
So I'm fearfully optimistic, and I'm excited. But I know that they're awesome women. But I'm also excited about nationals as well. And this is the first time I will be competing in the Masters Forum. So I'll be getting my feet wet to understand what that's all about. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah, you're going to totally dominate. I cannot wait. I'll just be your little cheerleader online.
You get some pom-poms.
I totally would. Team Smay.
Okay.
So what so far has been your proudest moment? Can you pick one out? And it doesn't have to be competition related. I mean, you talk a lot about how coaching is very fulfilling to you. Is there one moment that kind of sticks out to you, or maybe a couple of things?
I think that last year at Phoenix Europa was a very pivotal moment. Joe Giannetti, he's an amazing photographer. He photographed the event, and it was the first time where I looked at something, and I saw myself and my strength, and I saw myself as an athlete, and I saw myself as somebody who deserved to be where I was. And it was the first time that I just unabashedly, even before I purchased the photos with the proof stamp still on it, posted it on Facebook, like, hey, look at me. And it wasn't in a, I don't want to say braggadocious way, but it was, I was like, yeah, I got this. I'm good. I'm strong. I deserve to be here. And so for me, it wasn't about adding a pound or 10 or 50 pounds to the bar. I think, because I feel like when you're training, you're consistently, working towards, different goals. You're always moving the goalpost. But I feel like that mental game is, it takes a lot to get over it. And in that moment, in looking at myself, it was like the sky opened,
Right.
And I realized it's not about this exterior. It's not about if I have 5 chins when I'm, carrying a giant sandbag, because nobody looks good when they're doing this stuff.
Exactly.
It's about where your heart and your mind is and where your goal's at, and just striving to get there. So yeah, just my biggest is just realizing, again, like I said before, is that I am enough, that even if all this went away tomorrow and I had a tragic accident, that it doesn't matter, because I'm enough.
Amen, sis. Now, would you say that's kind of like your mantra, your motivational self-talk mantra?
I have a lot of motivational
Do you?
self-talk
You need to share some of those.
I do. I am enough, definitely. My good friend Heather McDonald, she's got tattooed "Take Up Space." I absolutely love that. Take up
That's good.
space. And every time I see it, I'm like, yes. Um, I actually, the owner of the gym that I coach at, they asked for, they call them Julia-isms. So I'll have to share with the group some of my Julia-isms. You might have to rate this R because I do. I have a sailor's mouth.
That's okay.
I've been very good throughout this interview.
No, it's totally fine.
But there might be several F-bombs drops. So yeah, I definitely have some mantras. One of the ones in the last Olympics, and I forget the name of the gymnast, but she walked up to the balance beam, and this plays over in my head very often, and I almost say it all the time before I do something. She walked up to the balance beam, she took a deep breath, and she said to herself, "You got this." And so
Yeah.
sometimes when I walk up, I say this, "You got this," or lightweight. And so
Yeah,
that's kind of my reassurance of myself of, you can do this.
that's awesome.
Well,
And I know,
get out of your
oh,
fucking head. That's usually the
yeah,
other one.
that's a good one. I like show the F up. That's a good one.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Those are great. And yeah, we need like a top 10 Julia-isms. That'd be awesome to share.
I can provide that.
So the last question that I want us to talk about is just kind of related to all of those women out there that are stumbling upon CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, bodybuilding, like whatever their sport is, whatever they're dabbling in right now or about to discover. What is your advice to them? Because, it's intimidating and it's getting better. It's not so much male dominated anymore, which is amazing. And because of people like you. So what can you say to someone, even maybe like a 12-year-old girl who is seeing this stuff for the first time? Maybe some kids have watched like CrossFit Games, for example, they were just on. What do you want to say to those people that are considering it, but are just a little bit scared to take the jump?
So it's funny that you asked that, because I had a woman come up to me yesterday and say, "Hey, I really want to do your strongman class, but I'm terrified.
Right.
And I feel like I need to get strong before I take your class." And I'm, okay, so you need to get strong to get strong.
Yeah.
I think that if you've never done it and you're just completely fearful and you want to try it, just go talk to somebody. Talk to somebody who's taking the class or who is, deadlifting or whatever it is. Just go have a conversation, because 9 times out of 10, there's always going to be that one asshole that you can just ignore them. But right. 9 times out of 10, people are going to engage you and say, "Yeah, come work out with me. Come, stand by me. If you don't know the movements, I can show them to you." We had 3 new people in my class yesterday, and it's just about, I think, just creating an environment where people flourish and are not afraid to fail. I think people are afraid to step into an unknown environment because they're afraid of what people are seeing, or they're looking at them and what am I going to look like? And I just say, go for it. Just life's too short to not just dive in. And if you're, grab a friend, if you need to grab a friend and just do it. I showed up when I went to my class, the first time in my kickboxing class, and then over to CrossFit, and I was terrified. So the fear is going to be there. And you just don't put it off any longer. And just kind of like what I talked about at the beginning, is one of the reasons I started this journey is because my father passing away. And I just think to myself every day, today could be your last day. And, what do you want to experience? What life experiences do you want to have? And if lifting weights, if powerlifting, if CrossFitting, if archery, it doesn't matter. If you want to try it, then do it. And your life and your heart are going to be fulfilled. And you're just going to be amazed at the residual effects externally in your life outside of the sport and how it's going to impact that. And just don't allow that to slip away.
I like that. Don't waste another moment. Definitely.
Exactly.
And as you know, it's about so much more than just the tangible thing. You know, like you said, it could be any of those, but it's so much more than just that. Awesome. So, Julia, you are amazing. I love that you own your strength, and I love that you own who you are. I think you're a great advocate for women and for females in general. You're so kind, and just you have a glow about you. So it's very obvious that you're doing what you need to be doing for yourself, and you are such an incredible role model for me and for so many others. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because every time I talk to you and see you in person, I just get so uplifted and so full of energy and life, and you give that away like it's free. So thank you.
Thank you. I need a Ray hug right now.
Yeah, I know. A virtual hug. Is there anything else that you want to say that we didn't touch on tonight?
No, go forth and kick ass.
Go forth and kick ass. I like that. All right. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and end our session, but I so appreciate your time.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Julia. I'll be seeing you in October.
Alrighty. Bye.